It was the dawn of a new day on the plains of Moab. The Israelites, a nation forged through centuries of slavery and decades of wilderness wandering, stood at the threshold of destiny. Before them lay the river Jordan, its waters deep and swift, separating them from the land they had long been promised. A land flowing with milk and honey, a land foretold to be their inheritance. This moment, both terrifying and thrilling, had been generations in the making. For 40 years, they had journeyed through deserts and endured countless trials. Their leader, Moses, had guided them through the vast wilderness, teaching them to trust in the God who had delivered them from Egypt with an outstretched hand and mighty axe. But Moses himself had not been permitted to enter the land of promise. Now leadership had passed to Joshua, his faithful apprentice, a man chosen by God to take the mantle and see this mission through. The people waited in anticipation as the camp stirred with life. Among them were elders with weathered faces who had lived through the Exodus and younger generations who had never known Egypt, only the stories told to them around fires at night. Each heart beat with uncertainty, hope, and perhaps even fear. The river before them raged. It was the harvest season, and the Jordan, swollen by spring rains, had overflowed its banks. To human eyes, crossing it seemed impossible. But Joshua, strong and resolute, reminded them of the God they served, a God who made the impossible possible. Early that morning, he gathered the people and spoke words that ignited their courage. "Sanctify yourselves," he said, his voice steady and commanding, "for tomorrow the Lord will do wonders among you." The words spread through the camp like wildfire. Wonders. This was no ordinary crossing. God was preparing to act, just as he had parted the Red Sea for their parents so long ago. But would they have the faith to trust him? Joshua called for the priests who carried the Ark of the Covenant, the sacred chest that symbolized the presence and promises of God. "Take up the ark and go before the people," he instructed them. The priests nodded in obedience, their expression solemn. They understood the weight of what they carried, not just the physical weight of the ark, but the spiritual magnitude of their charge. The assembly moved toward the river's edge, and a holy hush fell over the crowd. The afternoon sun glinted off the turbulent waters, and the roar of the river filled the air. The priests stepped forward, their hands gripping the poles of the ark tightly. With each step they took, the tension in the crowd grew. Would God deliver them once again? Then, as the soles of the priests' feet touched the water, the impossible happened. The river, wild, untamed, and overflowing, stopped. Like an invisible hand had reached down from the heavens, the waters gathered up into a towering heap far upstream, near the city of Adam. Downstream, the riverbed dried completely, leaving a smooth and solid path where chaos once reigned. Gasps of astonishment erupted from the crowd. Fathers pointed out the sight to their children. Mothers whispered prayers of gratitude. What they saw before them was no mere coincidence or natural phenomenon. It was the unmistakable work of God Almighty. Joshua, standing tall, called out to the people, "Come, cross over before the ark of the Lord your God." And so, tribe by tribe, family by family, the Israelites began to pass over. They walked across the dry riverbed, men carrying goods, women leading children, and elderly leaning on staffs. What had once been a barrier became a pathway to promise. With each step, they felt the weight of more than just earth beneath their feet. They felt the weight of hope, of a future unfolding before them. The ark remained in the center of the riverbed, borne by the priests, a visible reminder of God's presence in their midst. The people moved past it with awe and reverence, for they understood that it was God who held back the waters, God who made the way where there had been no way. Joshua gave another command, this time telling 12 men, one from each tribe, to take a stone from the riverbed. These stones, smooth from centuries of water rushing over them, would not remain in the Jordan. Instead, they would be carried to the other side and set up as a memorial, a monument to remind future generations of what God had done here, at this moment on this miraculous day. "Let this be a sign among you," Joshua instructed them. "When your children ask, 'What do these stones mean to you?' you shall tell them, 'The waters of the Jordan were cut off before the ark of the covenant of the Lord. When it crossed the Jordan, the waters were cut off. These stones will be a memorial to the children of Israel forever.'" By the time the entire nation had crossed, the sun hovered low in the western sky. The priests, still standing at the center of the dry riverbed, waited until Joshua gave the final signal. Only when the ark was brought up from the river did the waters return, rushing back into their course as if nothing extraordinary had occurred. But the Israelites knew otherwise. They knew they had witnessed the power of God. On the far side of the river, in a place called Gilgal, the 12 stones were set up as Joshua had commanded. As twilight settled over the camp, the people gathered to marvel at the monument, their hearts swelling with gratitude. They were no longer wanderers. They were no longer lost. They were a people delivered, chosen, and carried by the hand of God into their inheritance. And so, that night, as the stars spread across the sky in silent testimony, the Israelites rested on the edge of the promised land. The journey was far from over. Battles lay ahead, challenges to face, and faith to maintain. But they would face it all, remembering the river they had crossed and the God who had led them through it. This was more than a crossing. It was a defining moment. It was a reminder that the same God who had promised the land would fulfill that promise, that he would go before them, just as he had gone before them in the Jordan, and that with him nothing, no river, no wall, no enemy was insurmountable. Thanks for watching. Also consider subscribing to this channel for videos on faith and spirituality.